We are joined here by Anders Teams, the director of Manchester African Business Network. Why some interest in Africa?
Yeah, sure. I was born in Tanzania. My father worked for the British Council, so I had quite an international upbringing. And in my teenage years, he worked in Africa quite a lot. So I lived for 5 years in Zambia, and I also spent some time in South Africa. And to be honest, I just fell in love with the African content. In terms of the Manchester Africa Business Network, I found that last year, around about June last year, and joined as a member, and found it to be a very rewarding experience. And in December last year, the chairman, David Smith, of the umbrella organisation, the British African Business Alliance, asked if I would be interested in taking the lead of the Manchester Africa Network, which I accepted. I've put a new team together, and we're currently looking at our areas of focus going into 2018 and beyond.
How do you think this work that you now the director of the Manchester African Business Network will benefit Africa and diaspora at large?
I can take some examples really on what I learned when I was a member. So I know that through David Smith we have a very strong link to the Nigerian government. In fact, I went to the Nigerian embassy last December for an event. I met a construction company there, and they said one of their key issues is the lack of real skills, both from a practical perspective and from a professional perspective in the construction world. So I know that from a UK perspective, there are opportunities for us to speak to our government and look at funding and find ways to transfer that knowledge and expertise in Nigeria in that particular example. Another project, a lady who works here in the UK identified that there isn't a paediatric hospital in Northern Africa at all, so she started a project to build the first ever paediatric hospital in Uganda. And again, there's lots of work going on in the background. In fact, I know a company that builds hospitals, for example, in the States, so we've made connections to make sure that that happens. It may take us a few years to make it happen, but it will happen. So that's just two examples. We also have a list of about 20 or 30 projects identified through our network of areas where organisations in Africa need foreign investment to make things work, whether it's a solar panel power station or whether it's a new chemical processing plant. Anything from about £25,000 to I think 200 million is the biggest one. But we're out there, actively out there, talking to government, talking to organisations, public and private, looking for how we can help Africa to become a better place.
Do you have any specific countries of focus?
Yes, I do. So my passion is East Africa. Because I was born in Tanzania, I'm looking to East Africa. The rest of my team are looking at other areas of Africa. So I'm concentrating on the East Africa side. So countries like Mauritius, Tanzania, and Rwanda, in fact. So last week I heard on the news that VW have invested a huge sum of money to build a new manufacturing plant in Rwanda. And that made me question, if VW are spending that much money in that country, what other opportunities are there? And I've done some digging and some research and found out that that it's very stable politically now, that they have aspirations of becoming a much improved profile in the international business community. There's some good things happening in Rwanda, but it's to be treated as much as those countries where there already is a lot of media attention.
What plans do you have for this year and going forward?
I'm meeting up with the leadership team next Thursday. We've already had some brainstorming about what it is that we want to do, and some of the events that we've got planned are revolving around having business experts coming to talk to our groups on a monthly basis. One of our bigger plans is about developing an African summit where we can invite leaders from across Africa to come to Manchester to speak about the value of investing in their countries, in terms of what's already going on in their countries, and to promote some of the good collaborative work that is already in place between the UK and Africa. So that's something that I say we've got as an idea. We want to make it an annual summit but we really want to put Manchester on the map, and that strong connection between, certainly from my perspective, the Manchester Africa Business Network and Africa. Naturally, the British African Business Alliance are also looking at building as bridges, as are the other regional networks. But from my perspective, my focus is Manchester and Africa, and we're going to do our damnedest to make that work. Thank you.
And as we thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.